No. Okay. Great. Yeah. Now, how would you rehearse that?
Like, what should I say to them? Or
Like, yeah. If this is your group, how do you fix that? How do you fix what just happened?
okay, make sure you're ready for that. It's a pickup into beat 2, so it's on the and of 1. Da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da da da.
I think we're not actually there yet.
Oh, not
Yeah.
there. Okay.
I think okay, fine. This is where we are. Try under tempo for a couple bars.
Oh, okay.
Just the first like 4 bars.
Okay.
Don't make the switch. If you're rehearsing under tempo and you have a tempo change, unless there's some situation where rehearsing the transition under tempo clarifies something, it's generally not a good idea.
Okay.
You want to kind of get to a point that you can do the transition for real as
Okay.
opposed to trying to fake it.
Okay. All right. Try it. And then when you rehearse something under tempo, should you give that to them, or just keep this like one, or just like should you like sing that or say that anyway so they can?
I'll say under tempo. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try to avoid like one ready go.
Okay.
Sometimes for the sake of time, it's unavoidable, right?
Yeah.
But I'll just say under tempo, and then I hope you catch it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So under tempo.
Right. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Fine. How are these? How is this passage grouped? Like, what might help them keep track of what's going on?
So it's grouped in those. Like in the first bar, it's 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and and then 3 and 1 and 1 and or 2 and 3 and.
Yep.
So it's grouped in those 4 eighth note, that kind of cascading, and the bass it's C, B flat, A flat.
Yes.
G. Yeah.
Groupings of 4 eighth notes.
Yep.
Da dee da 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 da.
Yep. I'm sure we'll get it.
Okay. Better. Make them take your tempo.
Okay.
You're actually prepping a faster tempo than you're conducting.
Am I? Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay.
Okay, good. Now a little faster.
Okay.
There we go. Good. Now do it up tempo.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yep. 2 things about starting this. The very beginning, since you have ba da 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 da,
Yep.
right? Da 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 da. If you were playing this, where would you breathe?
So on 1.
Yes, you breathe on 1. Right. So you need to feel the impulse to breathe, not right, but and breathe. Da dee da da da.
Yeah.
That's called a gesture of syncopation.
Okay.
GOS in some very nerdy conducting text, like a gesture of syncopation, and that's where you feel the preparatory impulse on the beat instead of leading into the beat.
Okay. So then how? It's just that's just like
Yeah, I mean,
thinking it happens.
it does translate into pulling away from the playing slightly faster, blah blah blah. But usually, if I just feel that impulse, then that takes care of the physicality of it.
Okay.
Very nice. Now, in order for that, actually, let's now go the other side. So we now know where we're starting from.
Yes.
Now let's rehearse where we're going. Okay, so start at the place where you go into 1.
Okay.
Okay, so start conducting on the bar where you go into 1, and like figure out how to rehearse that.
Oh, just start on that bar.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the bar of where the fortissimo of the piano. So bar 4.
Bar 4.
Yep.
actually better to start with downbeat of 5.
Oh, just right on.
Yep, start right on the downbeat of measure 5.
Okay.
Ah, you're getting there. You're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
At the end, I started. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what happens, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1.
And then when you're prepping that, it's
Yep.
just 1, 2, or 2, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do
Yeah.
the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah. There are 2 schools of thought on this. Okay. The traditional approach is you prep whatever you're going to conduct first, right? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. There is a school of thought that says you always prep a duple, right? Which I think in this context doesn't work. In the context of mixed meters, does work. So I wouldn't do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It can work. I find it less effective at this tempo, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay.
Alright, so start bar 5.
But I tell you that because when we do mixed meters, it does work. So.
Okay.
Yeah, feel that? Feel that? Good. Do it one more time. Right. Okay, now that's your tempo. So now, how does that translate to the beginning? Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Alright, let's start from the beginning. Didn't feel the breath in that.
Good. That's the right idea. That's the right idea. Yep. When you switch into 1, start bigger immediately.
Okay, just get bigger. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you rush at the very first bar in
Yeah.
1, and then couldn't get back up.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So you're either not fast enough in the small bit, or
Okay.
you're too fast in the big bit. That's what
Okay, so like the tempo is changing slightly from 1 to 1. Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the one thing that keeps tripping me up is just for some reason that, so it's like 1, 2, 3, and then like I want to rush that. I feel like I rush that 1, like beat 3.
Yep.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3,
You know
and
what?
1.
You know what helped that is so there's there's a sports sound on it.
Yep.
Okay. I do. I put a little like stinger. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know that I would call that anything arbitrary, but yeah. I put a stinger on that, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, 3, 1. Help more at me. And it's also musical. It's written.
Okay. Alright. From the beginning.
Okay, 4 times. Good. Go. Just conduct 1 bar of 3 and then 1 bar of 1.
Okay.
Now go back to 3. And back to 1. Back to 3. Back to 1. Back to 1. And 3. Feel the beats for 3 as smaller.
Okay.
And now 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, back to 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, back to 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, back to 3. Now 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right. Yeah. There's a little, like this extra arc to beat 2 is, I think, kind of messing you up. Because really, this distance from beat 1 to beat 2 is pretty close to the distance you would travel if you were conducting a whole bar.
Okay.
Yeah, so make beat 2 a little drier. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 1, 1, 2. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't notice I was doing that. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. All right, really good.
Yep, good. I want you to do that one more time.
Okay.
And I want you, in the beginning, you have to do one of 2 things. You have to either not wait for them, right? Or you have to do the accelerometer that the editor put in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because if you do 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
1, then you're going to be behind.
Yeah.
And then that transition is going to be super awkward.
Yeah. And I've noticed that every time I've done that, it's like they come like I think I'm just like trying to catch up to them.
Yep.
That first one. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Just conduct.
Yes. Okay.
That's better. Yeah, it's coming more. You'll still your 3, your 1 was still a little faster
Yeah.
than your 3, but much better. Bravo. Good. We're gonna do the guinea pig. All right. Who's next? All right.
I'll do the same one.
Same one.
I
Yeah.
totally got lost.
Where are you switching into 1?
Oh, I was doing that at a point I really probably couldn't tell you.
I can tell. Okay.
Yeah. I tried doing it in the 5th bar.
Okay.
It didn't work.
Okay.
So-
Try it again.
Yeah.
Then we'll discuss. That actually worked pretty well. Yeah, that worked pretty well. So there's 2, you kind of have 2 options. Those options revolve around measure 4 and measure 5. So play it once for me, and I'll switch in measure 5 like you just did. Okay, for me? That worked pretty well. Here's another option.
my eyes, measure 4 is still technically part of like that little opening
Totally agree.
intro thing.
Totally agree. Yep.
So.
Yep.
All right. Just do it again.
Do it again.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Where does that stop?
I think I keep on stopping too late.
Yeah. So that you have the yeah, fa mi re do, fa mi re do, and the third time, fa mi re stop.
Yep.
Okay. Try something for me.
Yep.
The people that are playing alto and tenor, who are playing alto and tenor, I would like you to start measure 5 at the beginning. Okay? And then everybody else start at the beginning. Okay, so you guys are just going to loop those 4 bars. So you'll do starting at measure 5 in the beginning, and then you'll jump to measure 5 when we get to the real measure 5. Right. Do you guys see what I'm going for? See what I'm going for? In fact, I should have done this for you. One more time. Yes, yeah, good. Now do it for real. Do it for real. Yeah, good. There's a little bit of a lag at the top, at the very end, like when you're conducting the legato stuff. Da dee da 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 dee da da.
Yeah.
If there's legato music going over a marcato pulse, I typically will stay marcato until it's all established.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Otherwise, bravo. Lucas, why don't you get up and do that one more time and do what we just did with the people starting in measure 5.
Would you like us to do the full?
Please. Yep.
Let's swing
No. Okay. So they're playing the tenor.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So I want you to feel that eighth note connection. As you transition. Okay, one last time.
Okay.
Good. Now for real. Now for real.
Okay.
Haha, that's it. Yes, good. Who's next? And somebody want to do it different?
Oh, yeah. Hi, I guess I'll go.
You sound so enthusiastic.
I really am. I think I'm gonna do 11-1. But 1-4. I might cry about doing it. one again? Number 150, number 9, 4 something.
This is 11, 4, 11, 5, 7, 8. Let me stay on this again.
Page 315. It's in there. I don't have to do that.
Ah, you know what? That's in the next unit. So.
All right, someone pick one for me, I guess.
It kind of works in this, but I think it's going to be harder than you want. So. So you can do 11.5 or 11.7.
You know, I'm an all time.
Yeah, it's kind of mixed up. I think you gotta go back.
This is really fun. I'm so sorry, guys. Well, we're gonna have fun learning this. What's radio? 11.5.
11.5.
Y'all.
Careful, everybody, the image that you project to your ensemble, just up on the podium. So if you are feeling like, I didn't study, I'm not prepared, I don't know what's going on, that's not a great place to start a rehearsal. You know? So,
Well, yeah.
so I mean, I'm not saying fake it, but I'm kind of saying fake it. You know? Best to not be in that position to begin with, but you know, if you can, sometimes. I mean, look, sometimes you gotta fake it. I'm, yeah, sometimes you do.
All right, I'm gonna fake it.
Okay. All right. Start for me at measure 9. Okay, so that actually I'm glad that happened. So in a situation like that where it's just clearly it's not working, right? That'll tell you it's one of 3 things, right? Either the ensemble just has no idea what's going on, which sometimes happens. That's not the case as often as you think. Okay. Another option is something you're doing technically just is not working. Okay. Or a third option is an interpretive decision that you made goes against the grain of what the musicians naturally feel. And that's often, for me, that's insightful. If what I'm trying to get, it feels like I'm just pulling them through mud, then maybe the thing I'm trying to get, I shouldn't be trying to get. Okay? So in this case, measure 9, I do this in 2. Okay. So start at measure 9 and start in 2. In 2, but conducting half note. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, when you come in on beat 2, you kind of do this, like your wrist leads. Yeah, and that loses some of the authority, right? This is the triumph of the people that were inspired by the beheading of Count Egmont. That's what's happening in the story, right? So you want to have this kind of like military authoritative presence. There you go, and that worked really well. Now, where you're going. How do you get it?
What do you have to make?
Start in measure 5. Okay, measure 5. Now here, I'm in 4. So I'm in 4 for measure 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I switch to 2 in measure 9. So with that tempo in mind, you just end it. Good, yeah, good. Now, what do you listen for in the score to make that transition happen?
I'm listening to the bass.
Yes, right. Okay, now go back to the beginning. Listen for that through line. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, last thing. Like I said, you change one thing at a time, right? So if you're going to change what you're conducting, you don't want to also change tempo. But in order for that to work out, you have to somehow get to a place where it doesn't feel like you have to beat every beat for them. You know what I mean? So once it gets going, you have to feel a little bit like you're just listening to them. Don't go with them. I'm not saying like listen and go with them, but get it started. And then once they seem like they're fine, okay. Then you can go into 2 without like tipping the card over. Okay? But if you feel like you have to beat every beat, and then you go into 2, then it feels forced. Okay? So start again, listen for the 8th notes, set them off in the tempo that you want, and then just keep track to make sure they're keeping it. Keep the same marcato style dry. Yes. Yes, good note. Yes. And we can get one more in. Okay, Dawson.
I'll do the same one.
Okay. This overture is intended to be the first piece for incidental music by a play, or to a play by Goethe called, I think it's just called Egmont. And it's actually pretty good. If you do have the occasion to conduct this piece, which many of you are going to do orchestra, you will. Like youth orchestras do this all the time. I suggest you read the play. It's not all that big, all that thick. But it's about this Dutch count who basically like there's this external force comes in and establishes kind of like a Vichy or a puppet government, right? And they try to like not enslave the people. That's not right. But they're trying to take over, right? And the count resists. He's eventually beheaded, right? Which happens just before the Allegro con brio. Ba bop, and then a whole bunch of chromatic chords, and then this is the people being inspired to rise up against their oppressors. And that's how the overture and the play ends. So you have this little bit of like, there's something bubbling up, and then it's this militant, you know, that's the energy. There is something very impressive about you making them play a tempo they don't want to play. That's good. And I've never been good at that, I have to say. But that was great. If you, for that tempo, make sure that you start them out, like, firmly. It felt a little bit like you look down and just go up and make them play the tempo you want, and then when you switch to 2 at 9, be just as authoritative, right? It's not just that you're slipping into 2. We are in 2 now. Okay, it has to be like that. Can you, that looked a little bit like sudden. Feel the breath. Much better. Now stand up straight and look down. I'm everybody's mother. Posture's much better. I didn't feel the breath. That was great. Yeah. Bravo. Good.